Greetings, fellow artists and sculptors. In this video, we're going to be diving into some of the differences between men and women when it comes to the hands. Let's get into it. Let's begin with the general proportions and size. In general, men's hands tend to be slightly larger and a little bit wider than women's hands. When sculpting, pay attention to the overall size as well as the relationship between the palm and the fingers. Men's hands often have a more robust appearance, while women's hands have a more slender and graceful quality. Let's move on to the bone structure and joint definition. Men typically have a more pronounced bone structure with angular and defined joints. In contrast, women's hands are often softer, more rounded, with less prominent joints. Now let's consider the veins and tendons. Men's hands tend to have more visible veins and defined tendons due to typically lower subcutaneous fat. So women's hands may show subtler veins with softer transitions between the tendons and skin. So when sculpting, adjusting these details can help your sculptures appear more masculine or feminine. Moving on to the nails and nail beds. Men's nails are typically shorter and wider with larger nail beds. Women's nails, on the other hand, are often longer, more slender, with narrow nail beds. When sculpting the fingernails, pay special attention to the shape of the fingernail when looking at the tip of the finger from above. On men, this can often be more flat, and on women, it is typically more rounded when you're looking at the finger from above. And then pay attention to how the skin folds on either side curl up and dip into the fingernail. Women's hands typically have a softer appearance with more subtle transitions between the forms, while men's hands tend to have a more defined and robust quality. Men typically have more pronounced and larger knuckles, thicker joints to the hand. This is especially noticeable when the hand is clenched or flexed. Adding more defined and larger knuckles can make the hand look stronger and more rugged. Men's fingers are typically thicker and more robust, while women's fingers are typically thinner and more tapered. Men's thumbs often appear thicker and therefore shorter proportionally, whereas women's thumbs appear more thin and slender, making them look longer. Just like the other bones of the hand, men's wrists are typically thicker and more defined. Now let's think about the skin of the hands. Men's hands typically have a thicker skin with more visible lines and calluses, especially if they're involved with manual labor. Here you can see these 3 calluses that I have. This comes from lifting weights. For some reason I don't get it on the pointer finger. I don't know why that is. Women, on the other hand, tend to have smoother skin with finer lines. Next is the hand's overall musculature. Men typically have more muscular hands with more defined muscles in the hand, particularly in the palm and the base of the thumb, which can be visible under the skin. Women's hands are softer with less visible musculature. So overall, men's hands are larger, more boxy, with more prominent bones, muscles, and joints. Women's hands are softer, more elegant, more slender, with a more delicate and graceful appearance. Sculpting these nuances can help you differentiate characters in your work. Now, depending on the character and the pose, you may want to give a sense of strength or convey a specific emotion. Pay attention to the hands, and especially the poses that you choose, and make sure that those poses are conveying the emotion that you want to be conveyed in your sculptures. Whether that's a softer, more relaxed hand or a tensed flex hand to increase the tension of the sculpture and add some more emotion. Okay, hopefully those things are helpful to keep in mind as you're sculpting the hands. Your assignment for this lesson is to sculpt whatever type of hand that you do less. So for me, I usually use my own hands as a reference, so my assignment is going to be sculpting a female hand. And really pay attention to the differences and try to exaggerate the hand more towards the feminine or masculine, depending on which type of hands you're going to be sculpting. All right, that's it for this lesson. If you're interested in hands and would really like to master them, then I recommend checking out the full hand sculpting course at proko.com/handsculpt. There's additional demos, 3D models, and much more, so hopefully I'll see you in the full course. Stay creative, stay productive. I'll see you in the next lesson.